G'day and welcome to another episode of Tomo's Tune-Ups, all things DIY mechanical. On today's episode, I'm going to show you how to wash your car. Now the first you want to make sure is that the temperature isn't going to be too hot. That way the soap isn't going to dry before you have time to rinse it off. So you're likely wondering, why the hell am I making a video to show you how to wash a car? Most people out there have probably been washing their cars for decades and already know how to do it, but I'm going to show you the way that I prefer. The way that I prefer to do it is with the 2-bucket method. So the reason I chose the 2-bucket method was to protect the paintwork on the Mini. After spending thousands of dollars on it, I wanted to make sure that I didn't damage it. So most people, when they wash their car, only use 1 bucket. So for instance, if you were to go wash the roof on your car, then dunk it straight back in the nice clean soapy water, over time, all the dirt that has come off the car, you're going to be reapplying it, which can result in damaging the paintwork. So by having 2 buckets, you are separating the clean and dirty water. So I'll show you how to do it now. So the 2-bucket method is quite simple. In 1 bucket, we're going to half fill it with water, and then in the other bucket, we're going to apply 2 capfuls of Autoglym car foaming wash into the bucket, then fill it with about 7 or 8 litres of water. Once both buckets are full, we are then going to be using our sponge, in which I've just bought from Supercheap Auto, straight into the bucket. We are then going to wash the car. After we've finished doing a panel, we're then going to be dunking it into the nice clean water to remove all of the dirt. Once all the dirt's removed, we are then dunking it back into the clean water and repeating the process. Now, I've actually bought this wheel cleaner to give it a go. So the Autoglym wheel cleaning mousse, it's going to clean the wheels as well as the tires as well. So shout out to Autoglym. If you want me to review some products, send it my way. So now we've got the hose, we're going to fill up both buckets. Now you want to try and get it at least 2 inches from the top, that way it's not going to overflow when you move it. Straight into the clean bucket. Now you only want to fill this bucket halfway. At the end, you're going to see exactly how dirty this water is. Next thing we're going to do is lift up both front and rear wiper blades. That way we can get in underneath them, as well as clean the wipers after we're finished. Now, you don't ever want to be leaving your wipers up for longer than need be. The reason being is if these fall down and you don't have any wiper blades on there at the time, it will smash your windscreen. Next step, we're just going to hose the entire car down, starting at the top and working our way down, making sure that everywhere gets nice and wet. Now, the side of the car we're going to be washing first is going to be the side that's in the shade. That way, the soap isn't going to dry before we have a chance to hose it off. Always make sure before you start, you wash your car on your grass. That way you're not wasting any water. If you are like me and you have to wash it on the road, make sure that the chemicals you're using before you start are safe to go down the drain. That way we keep Australia's waterways nice and clear for the future generations. Now we have our 2 buckets and a sponge. We're ready to clean. So we're going to dunk it straight into the clean water first, and then we're going to start on the roof of the car and work our way down. If you have a large 4-wheel drive that you can't get onto the roof of, you can either stand on a tyre or get yourself a milk crate and use that to get to the hard to reach areas. Make sure you're only cleaning 1 panel of the car at a time. That way you can ensure that any of the dirt that you're pulling off, you are only removing it from 1 panel and not pushing it on to another panel of the car. Once you've finished doing 1 panel, dip it into your bucket of water, wring it out, get rid of all the gunk out of it, and then reapply into the nice clean bucket of soapy water, and continue. You want to make sure that you have a sponge that has 2 sides, or at least a spare sponge. This one has a bug and tar remover on this side, so you can gently massage the bugs and the tar and all the road grime that flicks up onto the road, onto your car, and remove it without damaging the paint. Now there's several benefits to cleaning your car regularly. If you're like me and love a clean car, I do mine quite often. Not only that, but there's also street cred. So if you're into that sort of scene, then hey, maybe you get some extra babes. Not only that, but you also get the chance to see if there's any dents or scratches, marks that you need to go over the car with. When the car's dirty, it often hides imperfections. So if you're going to go buy a car, the first thing you should do is bring it straight home, give it a wash, and then go over it with a fine-tooth comb, find out where all the dents and scratches are. That way you know exactly what you're looking at. Now, being the first car that my wife and I bought together when we wanted to start a family, I forever have been washing this to make sure that if there's any dents or scratches she hasn't told me about or that people have done in the car park, I like to make sure that I'm always on top of it. Now, I wax, polish and buff my cars every 6 months. The easiest way for me to remember is this. Do it at Christmas time, do it at tax time. That way they're 6 months apart, and you know when either one arises, you can go ahead and do it. If you do it at Christmas, most people have time off, so it's probably the easiest time for you to spend a good solid day waxing, polishing and buffing your cars. Make sure that when you're hosing down your car, you start at the top and you work your way down. Remember, gravity is going to want to push everything to the bottom. If you start at the bottom and work your way up, you're going to be hosing your car off forever, especially if you're in water restrictions, probably the last thing you want to be doing. Now, as you can see, the car is fully drenched. All the soap suds are off. We're going to go around, put down the wiper blades, and then we're going to go for a spin around the block. Now, the reason why we want to go for a drive around the block after we've just hosed it off is to get rid of any excess water. You generally find that water sits in here. As soon as you drive off, after you've chamoised it, it's nice and detailed, there's going to be a big streak of water all the way up here. Okay, so we start at the car and go for a quick little lap. So this is going to help remove any extra water that's sitting on the sills of the car, in the windows. All you got to do is just duck around the block. I generally get up to about 60 or 70 k's an hour just to help bead some of the water off, and that way it's less water that you need to remove with your chamois, which means less work for you to do. You don't have to keep going back over it. Now, the style of chamois that I use is generally just a microfiber cloth. It absorbs water quite well and it's easy to dry, not to mention you can throw it in the washing machine. Now, I sometimes just go left and right just to throw a bit of water off, get the water moving around on all corners of the car and to bead it off nice and easy. So that way when we get back, there's less work for us to do. We just gotten back from the test drive just around the block, so let's have a quick look to see what the car looks like. So let's have a quick gaze. As you can see here, there is obviously still water all over it, but it's also a lot drier than what it was when we first originally started. Now, once you've applied your wheel cleaner, you're just going to let it sit. You can either buff it off or you can wait for it to dry. Next thing we're going to do once the wheels are getting cleaned is grab our microfiber cloth. Once again, start at the top of the car and work our way down. Always make sure you clean your chamois regularly. That way any grime that you pull off the car, you're going to make sure you're not reapplying it later down the track. I generally like to clean the side of the car first, that is in the direct sunlight. That way you can prevent any streaks from occurring. Just remember that if your chamois gets full of water, to rinse it and turn it regularly to make sure that you're not reapplying any extra dirt that hasn't come off the car when you've washed it. This will also help to prevent any streaks. Once your car's all chamoised, we're then going to go and open 2 doors on one side, and we're going to go clean all the door jambs as well as the interior windows. Now, this is what separates a good car wash from a shit one. It's all nice and clean on the outside, but all on the inside, there's water all down in the sill. We're just going to get our chamois and just run straight over it to get rid of all that extra water. That way, the appearance when you open the door is going to be exactly the same as what it is on the outside. Obviously, doing it with the doors open is a lot easier, so I generally just give it a quick rub. That way, it stays nice and clean and it looks presentable when you open the door. While you're here, grab your chamois, go over the window, give it a nice little wipe over to get rid of any fingerprints, which in this case my son has been playing in the car, and rub it over the door trim as well, just to remove any makeup marks which you may have from either yourself or your partner, someone else getting in the car and making it dirty. Now, once you've finished doing the door trims, you're just going to run over the outside of the door, just where any moisture might be, and get rid of that. If you're like me and like a nice clean car, both inside and out, you're going to go over any possible spot you can get your chamois in. Just going to open the tailgate, and then we're going to do inside there as well. Once again, just run around the channels. If there's any water there, get rid of it. Any dirt and dust, you just want to remove as well. That way, when you open the tailgate, it's not all dirty. And also, don't forget to do the tailgate as well. So on the bottom side of the tailgate, we just want to give it a good rub down. Make sure we remove any water. That way there's not going to be any streaks as well as water flying out later. Also, the rear screen, my son's been playing in the boot. There's a couple of handprints there. So we're going to give that a bit of a rub down as well. Now, since we're in the car, we might as well give the windscreen a quick wipe over as well. Sometimes you find on a really cold morning, it might be a bit foggy on the inside. You've got some smear marks and when you tried to remove the fog on the inside, but you couldn't. So it's always a good idea to make sure that you get that when you can, especially when you're washing the car. So we're not done just yet. Next thing we're going to do is open the bonnet and check the levels. Now you want to be opening the bonnet on your car every time you wash it for two reasons. One, to get into the habit of making sure that you clean all the surfaces that are hiding water. And two, to get into the habit of making sure that you check your levels regularly. Now I don't need to be checking the oil level on this because I've had it recently serviced. So a quick shout out to Mitchell at Sinclair Hyundai at Penrith for all your automotive needs. Now, it might look a bit daunting opening the bonnet on your car and seeing all this plastic and all these bottles and thinking, what the hell do I do? So we're going to start over at the battery. This is obviously your battery right here. Now, it might seem common knowledge what a battery looks like, but generally it'll look something similar to this if it's not hidden inside your car. We have the positive terminal here and the negative terminal. Now we have our intake duct, which goes all the way through here. Behind here is the air filter. Now under this cover, we have the engine, and this is where we're going to be filling up the engine oil if we need to. Now to check your engine oil, all you're going to be doing is grabbing the dipstick, you're going to pull it out, wipe it completely, and then reinsert it, give it a second, pull it back out, and then check your minimum and maximum marks. Because my car is on a slope, it's going to give me an incorrect reading, so make sure you do it on a flat surface. And just beside, we have the coolant reservoir. Now, you only ever want to adjust this level when the engine is cold. The reason why is because once we put this cap on and we start the engine, it's going to create pressure. If we open that when it's under pressure, it's going to go all over you and it's going to scald you. As the diagram says, you don't want to be touching when it is hot. Just at the front, we have our washer bottle. We want to get into the habit of checking that regularly. The amount of customers that come to me and say, my washers aren't working, is simply because it is out of water. Always make sure that when closing your bonnet, you drop it from at least a 30 centimeter height and never pushing down directly on the bonnet itself to prevent damage. Now that the wheel has started to go white and a little bit purple, we're going to get our new sponge, dip it in some water, and we're going to start to agitate the dirt that's on it to help remove any excess grime. Once we're finished, we're then going to hose it down. Once you've agitated the wheel cleaner, we're simply just going to hose it off. Usually the last thing I do on my car is tie shine my wheels, but sadly I'm out of them, so hopefully I can get some sent to me by Autoglym. Now, as you can see, the difference in watercolor between the dirty bucket along with the cold one is the exact reason why we don't use one bucket to wash our car. That way we're not reapplying the dirt again and again back onto the car after taking it off. So there we have it, everyone. How to wash your car using the 2-bucket method. The products we used today were Autoglym Mousse Wheel Cleaner along with shampoo. Hopefully Autoglym can see this and send us out some products for us to trial. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Don't forget to like and subscribe below. Leave in the comment section as well anything you want to see me do in particular. This episode is proudly brought to you by the one and only Penrith City Tyres Automotive, all your on and off-road mechanical needs. Until next time, guys, enjoy your weekend. Have a safe afternoon, and I'll see you next time on an episode of Tomo's Tune-Ups, all things DIY and mechanical.